And now, coming to you live from Huntsville Studios, it's Pop Culture Philosophers. And here are your hosts, Rockin, Robbie, Billups, and John Hammertime Holshoe.
Hey everybody, it's the Pop Culture Philosophers, coming to you always from the Huntsville Attic in wonderful, beautiful Huntsville, Alabama. Tonight we're going to be talking about DC Comics on film. Very excited. I'm John Hammertime Holshoe. With me as always is Rockin' Robbie Billups.
Hey John, how you doing?
I'm fantastic.
I am fantastic as well. And speaking of fantastic, we are not quite fantastic, amazing, sensational, uncanny, or mighty tonight. Tonight, like you said, we are just DC. Did you know DC doesn't have to give their characters adjectives?
Unless it's like All-Star, maybe, and...
Unchained.
And with us tonight, we have Dashing, Drew, Madsen.
Dashing, yes. I love DC Comics, and Batman was always the huge thing growing up for me, but then I grew into Superman, and then just grew into the whole universe, and I'm huge lovers of it, and I'm so excited for everything coming up. Yeah. Exactly.
For the listeners, they can't see, he's wearing a Batman shirt.
Yeah.
And Batman underoos.
Well, I really appreciate you being here, Drew, in the Huntsville Attic. Also with us in the Huntsville Attic for the first time on Pop Culture Philosophers, Jonathan Strickland. That's right,
Hey.
the Jonathan Strickland.
Jay Strick in the house.
Jay Strick, why are you here with us to be discussing DC comic book movies?
Man, I'm here because I love all things DC. When I was younger, I was a huge GL fan. Got into high school, got into the popular crowd, and just kind of phased out of my all things nerd. And so,
when you were popular, you didn't like nerd stuff.
it's weird, right? And so I met my wife, and she always encouraged me to be who I was. And so I got back into comics, got back to reading all things Green Lantern, got back into reading just all comics in general. So that's why I'm here, man.
And you like DC. We all here at this table in the Huntsville Attic love DC. We have our drinks. Let's throw them up in the air, everybody. Our nitros or IPAs. And DC comic book movies, John. And before we do this, let's break the ice. Batman vs. Superman just came out. As of tonight, recording this, it actually debuted yesterday. So, John and me, our thoughts on the movie are on YouTube right now with the PCP movie night, Batman vs. Superman movie review. Check it out, but basically we liked it. But I want to know what you guys think about it. So, Jonathan, what'd you think about BVS?
If it helps, I've already seen it twice. I needed to get a feel for it because I really enjoyed it the first time, but I loved it that much more the second time. I love the whole movie. I love Ben Affleck as Batman. I think he nails it. I love Lex Luthor, or Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I think he kills it. And Wonder Woman's awesome. The cameos, all of it. I just enjoyed it, man. I felt like a little kid just watching it because it's like seeing things I'd seen in the comics on the big screen. It was this total geek out moment for me. I had to see it again before this podcast.
What about you, Drew?
Going into it, it was because obviously people have heard of the reviews of the movie so far, and I saw it, and I saw these reviews, and they actually kind of physically hurt because I was so interested in the movie. And I went into the movie, and I watched the movie, and I was even more confused by the time I got out of it, just because I was like, why do people hate this movie? Or like, why do people not understand it? And it seems to me like the more you read and understand comic books or DC stuff in general, the more you like it. And I'm sitting around here with a bunch of comic book guys, and they all like the movie.
And remember to like and share this podcast. We're giving away a DC Comics Blu-ray. If you guys have the old Blu-ray there. Nothing looks more fantastic than Blu-ray at home. I don't know why I'm pushing Blu-ray to people.
All things Blu-ray here.
Yeah. Not in the Blu-ray consortium.
Not a 4K Blu-ray, though, unfortunately.
No, just a regular
We're not
old.
made of money, or we're not Bruce Waynes. What's wrong with you?
So like and share the podcast. And, okay, so my question to you fine gentlemen here. What are your thoughts on DC films? I can't say their name. DC.
DC these nuts?
DC.
What are your thoughts on DC films in general? Start with Drew.
Mostly good, although their bad spots are bright, and they're bad. I mean, but for the main two ones are, of course, the Batman and Superman, just because those are the two greatest superheroes. and it's no surprise that they've been rebooted, they've been redone. There's a dozen actors between them that have played each of them. I mean, but theirs have been pretty solid over 60 years.
I have to agree with Drew on that because it feels like I freaking love so many of the animated films. It's like I wish that could translate over to the big screen. But besides Batman and Superman, some of those films are just pretty bad. But there's good ones, and we're going to get into that.
Robbie?
I would say that DC, they're the creators of the superhero.
Yep.
The Superman's pretty much the first superheroes. They're also the pioneers of superhero film. Pretty much the first superhero comic book movie was Superman. And Batman and Superman represent the most dynamic duality of mankind. And I think that's why it's important and why we're talking about it tonight. And Marvel may have the upper hand right now, but Marvel has just as many really bad movies.
Oh, yeah.
If
I agree.
you take all of them,
Yeah.
right?
Iron Man.
It took Marvel forever to make good comic book movies. And DC started it. And DC started the superhero. And they, no matter what you think of DC Comics as a comic book, company at any given moment, those characters are the closest to the classical mythology of our cultures in this world.
Yeah, I enjoy, again, a little biased, the first animated show I saw on TV, not a film, mind you, was Super Friends. So that influenced me a lot. But the first comic film I saw was Superman with Christopher Reeve. And you got to think that Marvel's first, I think, successful outing in the film business, I think, was either Blade.
Pretty much Blade.
Blade, and then X-Men after that. And
not
DC,
done by Marvel.
No, neither done by Marvel themselves,
Right.
but DC had been making films since the 70s, and again, you had the popularity of the shows and stuff like that. Before that, not to say that Marvel hasn't had popular shows, but
no.
DC sort of set up, and they even went in, not only did you have the shiny Superman, but they were first to go dark with 89 Batman.
Yeah, and basically, if you're going 1970s, Marvel, who? If you're going 1980s, Marvel, who? If you're going 1990s, you're like, oh, was Blade Marvel? You got to get to the 2000s where Marvel starts dominating, and really with Iron Man. Really where comic book films really started cementing themselves to the point where they are today. Really kind of started, I guess, with Iron Man. And Marvel, there's a lot to be said about Marvel. We got an upcoming podcast with Strickland, about Marvel films. But we're not talking about Marvel tonight. We're talking about DC.
We are.
And DC may not have as many good films overall, maybe, of the last 10 or 15 years, but they have been the dominating factor throughout superheroes, throughout the invention of superheroes. Absolutely. And they're very, very important. And you were talking about animated stuff, animated series, animated films. DC has been far superior.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they're the best.
Yes.
In animation,
Yeah.
whether
Absolutely.
whether it's feature film or whether it's series, like Batman the animated series,
Oh, my
the
goodness.
DC universe, animated films.
Maybe just even best animated show, and that's including everything. That's including Simpsons. That's including Family Guy.
Oh,
that's
right.
that's every
Yeah.
that's
Oh, yeah.
animation.
Yeah.
It does help if your parent company is a film company. It does
Little bit.
help.
Little
In
bit.
which case, now both DC and Marvel have parent companies who are film companies.
Yeah, and DC had that support before. That's why DC didn't have to go through bankruptcy proceedings in the 90s.
Yeah.
But this isn't a DC versus Marvel thing.
No.
But we're talking about DC. But what do you think about the animated films and DC in animation, Strickland?
The animation for DC, it's unbelievable how much good material is out there. You can go to the store now. You can go to Walmart, Target. They have awesome DC animated movies you can pick up. I really, really like. We touched on an animated series, but I also love Batman: Return of the Joker. That is one of my.
That's a great one, man.
That is one of my.
And that was the first
favorite.
PG-13 one, I
Yes.
believe.
That Batman Beyond.
That's a
Yeah.
Batman Beyond story,
Yeah,
right?
sorry,
Yeah.
yeah, Batman Beyond.
Batman, that's really good stuff. John, what do you already talked about the animated, but basically it's DC animation that got me into superheroes. Mm-hmm. It was Superpowers, Galactic Guardians, it was Super Friends. It was those series, those toys that were associated with those series that got me into superheroes.
Yeah.
And superheroes have actually been the most positive impact in my life outside of my lady, right?
Oh.
as me as a person. Like,
Yeah,
and
I
as far as
understand,
growth goes, like superheroes have taught me more than any teacher, any preacher, any boss. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you, man.
His lady, though, is Wonder Woman from the DC Comics, so that's sort of unfair.
Yeah, to me, she absolutely is Wonder Woman.
Oh, my God. Well, let's cut this whole part out. Probably the most dominating figure at the box office when it comes to superhero films has to be Batman, who's actually probably the most popular comic character right now, period. Hands down. Most easily recognizable character. At one point in time, by the way, the most recognizable characters in the world were Superman and Mickey Mouse, both American. Now, most recognized superhero in the world, Batman.
Batman was also voted the most popular fictional character of the 20th century, just beating out Sherlock Holmes and Dracula. That's a big deal when you're more popular than Dracula and Sherlock Holmes.
Those are
and
myths.
he's actually kind of a combination of both of them.
Yeah.
I also heard he can beat up Superman. That's what I heard.
That's what I heard too.
Yeah. So why Batman? Why is Batman so successful in the film industry? Strickland, we're with you first.
I think Batman is relatable. I think for us, we see Batman and we see what he's lost. We've all lost somebody. We've also lost someone we love. And there's something honorable about what he's fighting for. I think protecting your loved ones, that's honorable, dude. I think it's great. I think the dual personality thing is something we can relate to too, because we all kind of, we've done it. We've had double lives.
Yeah, we all have multiple
how
sides.
he's Bruce and how he's Batman. He has to deal with that. I also love how how Bruce is this rich kid, and he has to play the part. But when he's Batman, he's just a BA, all black everything. If I'm superhero, that's what I'm doing, blacking out everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And the relatability part, I agree with you there. I think a lot of people identify because to a lot of people, they say, hey, I could be Batman. He has no powers.
Right.
He just has a cool car, cool weapons, and he goes out there and he trains. And he keeps he's a detective as well.
Exactly.
But he feels more tangible, like I could be Batman, you could be Batman, Drew could be Batman.
Yeah, if I had
Robbie would probably
That's funny.
He'd be Johnny Storm.
Drew,
I'm cool
why
with Johnny Storm.
Drew, why is Batman so popular in the film franchise?
part of it is his relatability and the fact that he has been solid presence in our lives since the 60s. I mean, people in the 60s, they watched the Batman with Adam West. Family Guy.
I want to point out that Adam West is the best part of Family Guy.
Oh, yeah. But going back to it, he's been there since the 60s. So you have people, their parents watched Batman in the 60s, then growing up, and you have another generation in the 80s, they got the Burton Batman. Then you had, in the 90s, you had animated series and the mixed Batman movies in the 90s.
But it's still dominating.
It's still dominating because you had one every couple of years, and they were all pretty good, except for Robin.
Or at least popular.
Yeah, they were at least popular. And then in the 2000s, you had Nolan, who just blew everything away.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But that's the main reason now. I mean, every kid in elementary school knows who Batman is. He ain't read a comic in his life. He knows who Batman is.
What's cool too is generational. I mean, it's been, like you said, it's been going since the '60s. So it's like your dad's seen it, maybe
It's been
grew up
going
on
since
it.
the 30s.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Sorry.
But
We're talking about
film,
films.
culture,
Yes,
films,
absolutely.
TV.
Yeah.
But there were cereals back in the
Yeah, there was a
day,
cereal.
yeah.
But what's cool
absolutely.
is generation-wise, we've all got a certain version of Batman. So what means something to you, when you saw the Batman, Michael Keaton, will mean something to me different because the first movies I saw was Chris Nolan Batman's.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and you're it's very generational. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the appeals of Batman.
Robbie, why do you think the Batman's so popular in film?
Well, I mean, we talk a lot, or at least I talk a lot on our YouTube channel about superhero mythology. And like superheroes are mythological beings. And I really think that's true. And I really think that Batman, within mythology, he represents a lot of the Saturnian type gods, like the gods of death, the god of constrictions, the gods of destruction, and he relates to war, and destruction and courage and bravery, But he's also a dark, he's the night as opposed to the day, and so I think that people really like Batman because, first of all, he's dark. And everybody has a dark side to them. You were talking, Strickland, about the duality.
Yeah.
And people really understand that they have a dark side. And he's also real. He's a real person. He's not like Superman or Aquaman. He's not some kind of god with superpowers. He's not Wonder Woman. He's a real self-made person. And he is the epitome of success. He's like a real-life version of Batman might be Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know? Like everything he wanted to do, he does. That's what Batman is. And check out my super mythology on Batman, how to be more successful. And to know more of, that whole mythology thing, but people really relate to him because of that. Like, they acknowledge their dark side, and they respect someone who's not super powered. And Iron Man is cool, but it's all the suit of armor. And Batman is a whole lot more than that.
Yeah.
And I think people really think they're smart. I really think even the dumbest person on this world thinks that they are a smart person. And so people relate to Batman because he's smart, and they think they're smart just like Batman, but none of us are as smart as Batman.
No, never.
Not at all.
Speaking of the Arnold Schwarzenegger analogy, I was thinking how great it would be for him to be in a Batman movie, perhaps as a villain. Wouldn't that be an amazing movie?
That'd be terrible.
It'd be a cold day
So,
in hell.
Real quick, that makes me think of something. What's the worst Batman film?
Oh.
it's hands down Batman and Robin.
Is it why?
It's cheese. It's like Joel Schumacher's like, let's do the 60s show, which we had moved beyond. I think that's what he was going for.
I think that could be argued that's all of the Batman adaptations until Nolan. I would say that. Like, seriously, Burton, Schumacher, those are adaptations of the 60s show.
I do feel like
They are not
Batman
comic book
Returns
accurate.
are definitely darker and
At
more
all.
serious. I should say that. I should say maybe not comic book accurate, because you look at as much as I love Keaton, and I'm a biased to Keaton, huge Michael Keaton fan.
Right.
Even without Batman, but definitely they went with a more serious, darker role, and then Schumacher decided to camp it up a little bit.
Drew, worst Batman film.
It's got to be Batman and Robin. And it's not even about George Clooney because he did all right, but it's just everything around him was just awful. I mean, the bat butt, the bat boobs, the everything was just awful.
It was bad, and it's almost like I'm so tired of even talking about it. So Strickland, outside of Batman and Robin, what's the worst Batman movie?
Was it worst Batman movie? Besides
If
Batman
you
and
exclude
Robin?
those two, that film, those two. It's just one
Exclude
film.
Batman and Robin.
I know I might catch flack. I really just didn't like the Adam West Batman movie. The shark repellent was just a little over the top for me. Like, he just always had everything he needed in his belt. And I know people grew up on that. It just was never my cup of tea.
Yeah. It definitely stays with the theme. I mean, it is very much like the show.
No, yeah,
if you don't
agree.
like the show, you're not going to like it.
Yeah, I didn't like the
and
show,
that,
so it
a lot of
wasn't
people, that's the Batman they did grow up with.
Right.
So to them, when they cast Keaton, they're like, that's not Adam West. Holy shit. I was also going to mention that when you're bringing comic books to film, some things are hard to transition over. Human Torch, for example, was a hard thing to do. And if you ever saw the movie that didn't get released, but we probably all seen it, the one that Roger Corman made.
Oh, yeah.
He's only on fire for like 2 seconds. So bringing comic book films to life is a hard thing to do. Batman, you can do with a lot of practical effects. I think that's one of the things that was so great about Batman and what made him so easy to make in the films. Other than, you had to do the cape, and you had to do the costume correctly, and you had to build an actual car. And I love the fact that all these cars have been in these movies. They've actually built these cars. These aren't just special effects. They built these drivable vehicles. So I think that's easy transition when you can build a costume. Again, he has no powers. He doesn't burst into flames. He doesn't have laser beams. But I think that was an easy transition to film, and that's one of the things that makes it more tangible to us. But Robbie, I think we had some people that were talking about their favorite DC films.
Oh, absolutely. We always reach out to social media, and we reached out and asked, what are your favorite DC movies? Theatrical releases, because that's the top 5 bases we're doing tonight. It has to be released in the theater. Here are some of the responses we got. Daniel Tibbling said, the newest Batman Superman movie. It's insane and amazing, and Batman fucks up so many people.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Corey Schuyler said, Return of Swamp Thing, baby. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, wow.
That's not an easy answer. David Schultz said, Watchmen for me. Sure, they fucked up the whole ending, but it was really loyal to the source material.
It was.
Good friggin' flick.
I agree.
Zach Farrell showed us a picture of Shaq as Steel and then said, just kidding. Probably Superman 2 or Batman Begins. Casey Bates said Watchmen, and Scott Segwin said Swamp Thing 3, where Zod gets drunk and shoots peanuts at Adrian Barbeau. I think you got that mixed up, homie, but I think that was the point.
I'd watch it.
I would watch it too.
Yeah,
Thanks for
sounds
checking us out
interesting.
at YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Pop Culture Philosophers, check us out, and thanks for responding, guys.
We'll be right back talking about our favorite Superman films.
Hey everybody, Rockin' Robbie here, and it is time to talk about our YouTube channel. Be sure to go to youtube.com/popculturephilosophers and subscribe for all new and all original content. YouTube is the only place to find podcast video previews, PCP Movie Night, that's our movie review show, trailer reactions, and my own personal Robbie Rants and Super Mythology. We also have top fives on YouTube that you will not hear on any podcast. So please subscribe to the Pop Culture Philosophers on YouTube. And for a limited time, we are celebrating cracking 100 subscribers with a great contest, so be sure to look for that video as well. We appreciate everything, people. Thank you, PCP Army. Welcome back to Pop Culture Philosophers. Today we are talking about DC comic book theatrical releases, actual DC comic book movies. We talked about Batman, we talked about DC in general, but let's get into the other big half of the big two in DC. There is Batman, and Batman's a big deal, and we talked about that, but Superman is a big deal. Like I said earlier, first superhero ever. So first of all, why is there appeal of Superman? Like, why is Superman even a big deal right now, Strickland?
Man, Superman is a big deal. He's just iconic, man. You look at him, you want to be him. You want to be Jack like that. You want to have the perfect hair. I'm sorry, I got a man crush on Henry Cavill. Cavill?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's fine.
That's my boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want to be him. All his powers. You know, when you put the cape on when you're a kid. That's what you do. You know, you fly around. You pretend you're Superman. So still, that's relatable since when did he come out? The 30s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it relatable?
Why is it relatable? He's relatable because he always makes the ultimate sacrifices. And that's very admirable, man. We love that.
Absolutely. You know, that's something that we really look forward to in a lot of our, the religions of other cultures and our cultures. You know, like all the religions of the world have that kind of figure. And so we really definitely do look up to it. Speaking of looking up to him, Drew, you're a tall drink of water.
Yeah.
What do you think about Superman? What's his appeal?
His appeal, he's kind of like Batman in the way that he's got something for every situation. You know what I mean? He's got frost breath. He's got heat vision. He can fly. He's super fast. He can give the Flash a run for his money. He's sorta until the Flash starts trying. Yeah. And super strong, and he can leap tall buildings in a single bound. And underneath it all, his core root, he's raised on a farm in Kansas in the Midwest. I mean, he keeps mentioning that, and he's like, I'm from the Midwest. And he's like, I'm from Kansas. How more American can I get?
Yeah, right.
and he stands for truth, justice, the American way. I'm not going to say the world way. I'm just going to go with the classic line. And he always tries to do the right thing. And it may not be the popular thing, but it is the right thing to him.
John, what about you? What's the appeal of Superman?
It's the moral compass. He's the good guy. He fights for the American way, and isn't isn't that everything the American as a child? Isn't that what you look up to? Isn't that what you want to be?
Oh yeah.
And it was a big influence on me again because the first animated show I watched was Super Friends, and Shirt Tales, but we'll get to that.
That's a great show.
Yeah, but the first film I saw, a comic book film, was Superman with Christopher Reeve, and it blew me away. The fact that it looked so real, you could fly, and my mom bought me Superman pajamas, and I remember losing the damn cape, so she gave me an giant orange towel, and that was my cape. And I look back in it now, and I think probably I look pretty damn awesome, running around in my pajamas with my orange cape. But it's just again, truth in the American way, man. He embodies what everybody wants to be, and he's just he has every power, and he's just like a god. And how could you not want to be, look up to this guy?
I think it's exactly what everybody just said. He is a mythological being that we all look up to. We all want to be. We all aspire to him. He is the equivalent of like Christ, Apollo, Horus, like Luthor would say. He's the typical sacrificial sun god. He lets us know that we are all who we are, and we're all who we are because of each other. We're all bound together because of it. So Superman appeals to people and Superman type figures throughout all of history. Why has it been so hard to make a goddamn Superman movie in the last 30 years? Drew.
I think because a lot of people don't know exactly what to do, and it comes back to this is like Grant Morrison said, and he's just like everybody else. He's got real problems, except they're to a mythological scale. He's got a dog. He's got to take it a walk. He's got to take it around the asteroid belt. His parents are here he's got relatives coming in, except they're from the 28th century.
Yeah.
And they want to take over the world, and it's just stuff like that. But I mean, now we're in the darker Superman period, which I kind of like because I like the kind of like Elseworlds tales like that, like they've done before. But they're going towards the light, I think, the more that they keep going. And that's the apex where you want him to be, where everybody wants him to be, the light god.
Speaking of light god, Holshoe, you're the light god of my life. Just kidding.
I don't know what that even. I don't know how to respond to that.
Just kidding. That would be Horus. Anyway, going on. Why has it been so hard to make a Superman movie?
I think a lot of it was: do you follow up the Christopher Reeve films? Do you start from scratch? There was the canceled film with
Kevin Smith, Tim Burton.
Yeah, and wasn't there one else?
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage was tried out.
Superman Forever.
Yeah, they didn't really know what to
Supposed
do.
to be Brainiac in there, right?
And eventually, they did do a follow up to the Reeve films with Brandon Ruth.
Yeah, and Bryan Singer.
Yeah, Bryan Singer, Superman Returns. Yeah. But I think they just weren't sure what to do with it. And honestly, I can't explain why it took so long, even between that and Superman Returns, because it's such a popular franchise. And since Batman was popular and did well, I think why not more superhero films in that time? I don't know why we didn't get one in the 90s.
What about you, Strickland? Why do you think it took so long to get Superman back into cinema?
I'd have to agree with John on that one because it was almost you're picking sides on we want to go with the Reeves movies. Well, Reeves is gone now, and let's pick it up with Superman Returns. And a lot of people didn't like that. I enjoyed that movie, but then we get Man of Steel, a whole different feel. But it seems to be like everyone's enjoying Superman a lot more now. And I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I think that Superman's appeal kind of died out in the 80s and the 90s, and it came back in 2000s with no matter what, Superman Returns is kind of critically and universally kind of panned.
Yeah.
But it made money.
It did.
And it hit hard. I really think it did. And I, like you, Strickland, I really like Superman Returns.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
But I think that as an American society in the 80s and the 90s, we got very, very comfortable. We felt almost like we didn't need Jesus anymore. Do you get what I'm saying? Because we were righteous, and we were good, and we were safe, and we were secure by our own volition. And I think it took something like, no offense, but seriously, like something like 9/11 to make us scared again, to make us realize that we need a Superman. We need a God. We need a sacrificial figure that teaches us sacrifice, that teaches us consciousness, awareness, being, love for humanity, for all. I don't know. Maybe that's getting a little deep, but it's kind of what we do here at PCP, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, real quick. I was thinking about this. Real quick, one answer. John, I want to start with you because you are PCP. Worst Superman movie.
Superman 4.
All right, I agree. That's mine too. Drew?
I just have to go with Superman 4.
Strickland.
That's
That's
exactly
the worst
what we're all
one.
thinking,
It's the
right?
worst one.
I knew that was going to happen.
No
Knew that was
offense to
gonna
Jonathan Cryer. If you're a listener, we apologize. We still love you, Ducky. That movie just wasn't very good.
We do.
happen. Another thing. Why did Superman not work for the last 30 years? Because they wouldn't use anybody else but Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
And Lex Luthor is my second favorite comic book villain of all time. Okay? That's ahead of Darkseid and Galactus. Just going to say that. And Thanos for all you new Marvel fans. Anyway, but Luthor is a big deal. But there's so much more. People think that Superman, like, who are the best rogues galleries in comic books? And people say Spider-Man, obviously. Batman, obviously. X-Men, obviously. Even the Fantastic Four and the Avengers.
Oh, yeah.
But people always shit on Superman's rogues galleries. No, he has one of the best.
I agree.
Doomsday, Darkseid, Brainiac, Metallo, Parasite, Prankster, even
Bizarro.
Mixus Bizarro, Maxima, Livewire,
Mongol.
It goes on and
Mongol.
on and on and on.
I forgot about that.
What are the villains? I think Superman hasn't appealed to anything because they haven't used another villain. What are the villains they should have used? Strickland.
I would have loved to seen. It was heavily rumored that there was going to be a Bizarro in Batman v Superman. It didn't happen. Spoiler. Sorry, he's not in the movie.
No
but
shit.
I would love to see that happen. Especially they brought back Bizarro with Luthor in a New 52 run of Justice League, and I really liked it. Basically, Lex creates Bizarro, and he's like his pet. He's the creamsicle
Oh,
per se.
yes.
And so I would like to see something like that. I don't know. I think it'd be cool, different.
Strickland knows how not to get his answer cut. Mention my cat. Speaking of as adorable as my cat, Drew Madsen.
As fierce as your cat, Mongol. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
we got.
Now, is he Superman or Green Lantern? Should he be in a Green Lantern movie? Should he be in a Green Lantern Superman movie? What?
I would see that.
I wish
love
that
to
would
see
Pay
happen.
money, take it now.
I think Superman, just because he's one of the big first ones that was like an actual physical threat, like overpowering.
That
him.
Alan Moore issue.
Yeah.
The Byrne issue. You know what I'm talking about, fans. If you've read Superman comics, read the Alan Moore annual with Superman with Mongol. Because what's that moment he looks at him, he's just like, Mongol has Superman, he's doing his like villain speech and all that shit, right? And then he's like, do you have anything to say, Kryptonian? And he just goes, burn. And he visions the shit out of him. Like, no shit, man. Mongol's a great choice.
Yeah, he's one of those big guys. He can come in. He could come in as just ousted as one of the rulers of his world, or he can come in just invading Earth with War World.
Oh, yeah.
And that would be horrifying. Seeing this giant planet just outside Earth.
It'd be great for a Green Lantern film where Superman shows up.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be so good.
Don't tease me.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of teasing me and so good. Holshoe. What villain should they have used in a Superman movie?
Originally, I was going to say Brainiac, but if you recall, Brainiac was supposed to be the villain in Superman 3. Ended up doing with that computer or whatever because of budget constraints. So Superman 3 is better than people remember it being because you do have... maybe it's not better than people remember. But it scared the piss out of me, that whole scene where that lady gets absorbed in the computer.
Absolutely.
But
Superman 3 is terrible, but that ending scared the hell out of me when I was a child.
Oh, yeah. It scared the piss out of me, and it gave me nightmares. And when I watched it recently, I'm like, oh, why was I so scared of this? But things are different when you're a kid. Hell, the damn monkey with the symbols from, what was it? What's the thing you go to? Showbiz Pizza scared me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which I don't think Showbiz is around. I think it's only Chuck E. Cheese.
I have a story about that. We'll get to that in
but my
October,
answer
I'm
is
sure.
somebody who is one of my favorite Superman villains and also a Supergirl villain that you don't see a lot is Cyborg Superman.
Oh, yeah.
I love
Ooh,
Cyborg
good
Superman.
one.
And I think you could do him really well in
Yeah.
CG now. He'd be a badass villain.
I am still really hoping, I don't know how caught up you guys are on Supergirl, but I'm really still hoping that Dean Cain is going to be Cyborg Superman.
Other than that, I think the one that I think we're all going to say, and you mentioned him earlier, and we think he's going to be in the Justice League movie, Darkseid.
Darkseid, yeah.
The most badass DC villain.
I was listening to one of our homies program, RCR Reviews. RCR Reviews is a great page. Check them out on Facebook and check them out on SoundCloud. They do some great podcasts. It is basically pop culture through a black nerd's perspective. And I think it is a perspective that is needed and warranted in our industry. I respect them. I love them. But in their BVS review, the Todd Father Holland, not trying to call you out, homie, but you said that Darkseid and the DC cinematic universe, well, they're just ripping off Marvel's Thanos storyline.
Oh.
I just want to say that the creator of Thanos is Jim Starlin, which I'm sure you know. And he is self-admittedly created Thanos to be the Marvel version of Darkseid. So who's ripping off who, homie? Really?
Damn. Can I get like an air horn there?
But Darkseid, that's a good answer. Me real quick, some of these have already been named. Brainiac, Parasite, Metallo.
Metallo.
So we talked about the live animated films, but DC has been dominating in the animated films. Really, they have. They have some phenomenal stuff. Let's talk about your favorites, and let's just talk about them in general, as well as the ones maybe not so favorite to you. I'm going to start with Strickland. What do you think about the DC animated world?
The DC animated world is amazing. We touched on it at the beginning of the show. They're spinning out movies like constantly nowadays.
Oh, it's like 4 or 5 times a year.
Yeah, and some of them are good, some of them are great, some of them aren't that good. Some of my favorites, Frontier, I said it earlier, Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker. I mean, that was my childhood, that movie. I mean, like I said, we grew up, I guess y'all are about 10 years older than me, so I grew up on that. I can remember watching that and seriously freaking out. That whole flashback scene where Joker gets killed and Batman is like torn.
Yeah. I think me and John are about maybe 10 years older than you, but like Drew's very close to your age. And like, yeah, Return of the Joker hit me in the heartstrings, dude. Really fucked me up. Like, no lie. It was Tim Drake.
It was
like
Tim Drake.
spoilers, but it was Tim fucking Drake.
If you haven't seen Batman Return of the Joker, then by now, I'm sorry, we're spoiling it.
But man, for real, that hurt me, dude.
Yeah,
You can't see it now, but Drew is weeping.
They actually can't see it now.
Oh yeah, you can see it. Damn it.
Mine is favorite Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox. You want to talk something that hit hard?
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
See, because he goes and he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna go save my mom. What a horrible mistake! And that's why going back to the time travel thing, never change the past. What's wrong with you? Everything bad happens. Nothing good comes from it. Just stick with it how it is. And the very end where he gives Bruce the letter from his father is the most tear-jerking moments of my life.
Heartstrings once again.
Dude.
I just want to say Thomas Wayne as Batman with guns.
What a badass.
If they did a Flashpoint movie right now, it'd be Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yes.
Thomas
Yeah.
Wayne.
Oh, that would be perfect.
Please.
He would be perfect for that.
Here I cry, DC.
So what do you think of the DC general? In general, what do you think of the DC animated film? You said your favorite, but you didn't really go into any more detail.
Generally, they've been good. I mean, I had to think about it. There haven't been too many terrible. Like, I can't believe I wasted my time on this.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, they're bad. I'm like, it's okay. I'll watch it once. That kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
But when it's like, when they're good, you want to watch it all the time.
Yeah.
You want to watch it all the time.
Robbie.
Well, I mean, straight up, like, why are the DC animated films so... Well, first of all, DC is mythological. They're bigger than Marvel. Like... I love Marvel. You guys know me. I'm not a DC or a Marvel guy. What's my favorite comic book of all time?
It happens to be a Marvel
Fantastic
book.
Four.
Yeah.
But some of my favorite characters are Aquaman and Batman and Green Lantern. Like those are, and Flash. And Superman. Those are like DC characters. I love them. Their stories are so big that like animation really suits them because there's no budget. You know, whatever you can imagine can happen in a DC animated
transitions
film.
well to animation.
And it's great. And my favorite DC animated, some of my favorite DC animated films, like straight up, you mentioned it. Justice League: New Frontier.
Yes.
The Darwin Cook book.
Yeah.
A big tribute to the Silver Age of DC Comics, which DC owned the Silver Age. I'm just going to say that, okay? Fantastic Four, Spider-Man never would have happened without DC. Without Barry Allen Flash, Hal Jordan Green Lantern, reinterpretations of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and the Justice League. You know? So Marvel owes a lot to DC, and DC now owes a lot to Marvel. But all that aside, New Frontier, that's DC Comics to me. And that animated film is brilliant. And real quick, I want to mention this. In the comic books, I hated Under the Red Hood by Judge Winnick, right? I hated it. They brought
Really?
Jason Todd back.
Yeah.
I hated it. I love the animated film.
Oh, it's great.
Love it.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
I forgot about that one, too.
So good.
That one's good.
You have Bender as the Joker.
Yeah, you
John
do,
DiMaggio.
actually, yeah. And a weird Joker,
Yeah.
but really cool. And
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah, that's what I agree with you there, Robbie. You can do whatever's in the comic. You can do an animated feature. You don't have limitations. And on top of that, there has been some changes in, say, Son of Batman. There's been some changes where, like, whoa, they changed this and this for the story. I
Yeah.
can't believe they changed it. But sometimes they're doing it for trying to condense a huge comic arc that transitions, that goes over multiple different comic series for a long period into an hour-and-a-half film. Sometimes they have to make changes. But a lot of things have been straight to, there's been some phenomenal ones, like Flashpoint Paradox have made little changes from what's in the original comics. So some have been so good. They're such a great story. That's I'm surprised that more of these movies don't draw just 100%, take the storyline and put it on the big screen. But the animated features have done that, and they've done a phenomenal job. And there's been some, on top of that, the voice talent. DC has some of the best voice talent in the business. Oh my gosh, they have some phenomenal actors. And again, a lot of people associate these characters, when you see them on the big screen, these voice actors come to your mind. Kevin Conroy.
Yep.
What's the guy from Firefly that does Green Lantern?
Frick.
Nathan Fillion.
Nathan Fillion.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Mark Hamill, Joker.
Mark Hamill is the Joker. So they've got some great
Some
talent.
good ones.
Yeah, DC has definitely.
Dean from Supernatural is Jason Todd.
And
He
it's
is.
great.
He's the reason probably I like Under the Red Hood. It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
And you go back to Warner Brothers has been making animation since Looney Tunes.
All right, John. Once again, we've been asking everybody on the social media. Be sure to like us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And get on the show. Get a shout out. Everybody, here are our shout outs. What are your favorite DC comic book live action theatrical films?
Mark Lanier said Batman vs. Superman or Constantine.
Ooh, BVS is on there.
Matt Gibson also said Batman vs. Superman.
Ooh, wow.
So it's a popular film.
Matt Gibson from Pixel Arts. Oh, yeah. It's a great page on Facebook. Check it out. Pixel Arts.
L.W. Allen says Mask of the Phantasm. Phenomenal animated film, by the way. We should have touched base on that a little more.
We didn't, did we?
Animated.
Maybe we will.
Yeah. David Bass also says Mask of the Phantasm. Corey Jr. says, does History of Violence count? And yes, it does.
It does.
It is a DC.
Corey!
You know, it's technically Vertigo, but it falls in that umbrella. Great film. Alicia Mayrow said V for Vendetta. All of the feels. We feel that.
Oh, yeah.
Billy Wolburn said Adventures of Captain Marvel.
Bullshit. I'm sorry. No way.
James Donohoe said Superman the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Classic.
Yeah. Of course, James loves Superman.
And then Chris Harris said Watchmen and Superman Unbound. Although Superman Unbound, I think, was
Animated
a
movie.
straight to DVD movie. So I don't know if that counts.
Yeah.
But great movie.
I think you're straight to Blu-ray, John.
Yeah, straight to
Yeah,
Blu-ray.
Blu-ray, come on.
Thank goodness.
We're the
No more straight to DVD. It may be on DVD as well, just for the record.
All right, coming up, our top 5 favorite DC theatrical releases. DC comic book films. Right after this break. Pop Culture Philosophers. Hey everybody, Rockin' Robbie here. You know, here at PCP, we absolutely adore and love comic books. And where do we get our comic books from? That's from the Deep Comics and Games here in Huntsville, Alabama. Be sure to check them out at deepcomics.com. And if you're ever in the North Alabama area, be sure to check us out at 2310 South Memorial Parkway. It's a fantastic store. Comic books, games, action figures, pretty much everything you would want for your nerd and pop culture needs. So check out the Deep Comics and Games at deepcomics.com and of course on Facebook, and of course they ship. So it doesn't matter where you live in this world. We'll find a way to get our product to you. Welcome back to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups with John Hammertime Holshoe, also with Drew Madsen and Jonathan Strickland. Tonight we are talking about DC comic book movies. Let's go back to the social media real quick. We asked you on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, what are your favorite DC comic book movies? Here are some of our responses. Jelani says Batman, 89. O.J. Simpson, not the O.J. Simpson, just our O.J. Simpson, says Batman Assault on Arkham. Yeah, okay. Red Blood.
Animated.
All right, those are animated. And Return of Swamp Thing. Don't judge me. That movie cracked me up when I was 7. But overall, Batman Returns. Great choice. Brandon Whaley says Return of the Joker. I promise. I saw that in the theaters. George Vera says, was Swamp Thing released theatrically? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Marshall Green says, I know everybody hated it, but I really like Green Lantern. And Finley says Batman 89 and best answer of the night. Tyler Reynolds, not even trolling, says Batman and Robin. Watch that movie with no anticipation. It's funny as hell.
I guess if you're going for a comedy, it's...
Yeah.
And now we're going to get to our top 5 favorite DC comic films. There's a lot of them, so to narrow it down to top 5 may be a little difficult. I'm going to go ahead and start with Drew. What's your top 5 in descending order? Drew, your top 5 favorite DC comic films.
Number 5, I'll put Batman Begins. Batman Begins, really good. Good start to a good series.
Oh, yeah, for the trilogy.
Yeah. And 4, I'll go Original Superman. The 3, A History of Violence. Love them. 2, these are going to be the hard ones. 2, probably Batman Returns. And 1, Steel with Shaquille O'Neal. No, The Dark Knight.
The great choices. Great choices. Now, I'm just gonna elaborate a second there. Dude, Ed Harris in History of Violence. Holy shit.
Yeah. Aragon.
Dude, I love Ed Harris. He does such a phenomenal job. So why do you rate Batman Returns so high if it's not part... Usually I notice that most people rate the Nolan trilogy higher than the other Batman films. Why does Batman Returns stand out to you as being so high on that list?
I liked a lot of the characters, but the fact that they did Penguin so well just shocked me when I was younger. and his is the big thing that sticks out to me when I think about that, because he went unhinged for that movie. He went all out, because I can't look at him the same way, even in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like, I still look at him like he's the Penguin. And then you have, I like Keaton a lot, but I don't know, he's not. But that movie's just not as good as the Nolan trilogy to me.
And why The Dark Knight? Why is that your number 1? Why does it stand out so? Why does it stand so high in your list?
Because it came out and everybody knew that we had just watched something great. And we quote it all the time now without even thinking about it, really.
Absolutely.
Why so serious?
Why, yeah, everybody does it now. And people are like,
Where's the detonator?
where's he hiding?
Honestly, before that came out, I think a lot of people, whether you like Nicholson's Joker or not in the 89 film, that was a hard role. I mean, he may have differed from the comic, and he may have been more of a gangster and less so of the character we know in the comics.
Are you talking about Heath Ledger?
No, I'm saying Nicholson in 89 set a very high bar for Joker on the big screen. So people were anticipating Ledger, and his character is much more darker, but I think he did a phenomenal job and blew people away.
Yeah, I think he's more comic book accurate, actually.
Yeah, but well, he definitely disturbs you watching the film, and he disturbs you in the comic, so maybe he did nail it. But that's a great top 5. That's a phenomenal top 5. That's hard to beat. I think we'll just end the show here. No.
Yeah. And History of Violence, Cam, From the Deep. History of Violence, he said that was his favorite DC comic book movie. It's a great film. Viggo Mortensen.
It was the last movie released on VHS.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Fun fact.
One of those facts.
What a spectacular format.
Jonathan, what are your top 5 DC comic book movie theatrical releases?
5, V for Vendetta. That movie was extremely dope. 4, The Watchmen. I think I explained a little bit what that movie meant to me. 3, Man of Steel. You see that ending to that movie. It humanized Clark because you understand he did the very thing he swore he would never do to protect the people of Earth. I just thought that was extremely awesome. 2, Batman Begins. Swear to me. Love it.
Great movie.
All right, number 1. I don't know. I'm gonna get some flack for it, man. I'm gonna get some flack for it. I feel it.
Holy cow.
Batman versus Superman.
Whoa. All right, first of all, I'm going to ask you a question real quick.
Give it to me.
First of all, this is going to sound really weird. Why V for Vendetta number 5?
I just feel like that movie was like ahead of its time.
Oh, yeah.
When I first saw it, I just thought it was so intriguing. Just the whole dynamic of the movie. Like his dialogue. I just love it. V's dialogue. I don't know. It's out there, but
yeah, out there. Speaking of Alan Moore, Watchmen on your list.
yeah. Like I said, that movie just means a lot to me because that was one of the first movies I started watching with my wife, and
all right.
But it's just a great movie overall.
You have no Batman or Superman movie outside of BVS on here except for Man of Steel and Batman Begins. Why
Yeah.
those two for Batman and Superman?
I think I touched on it earlier in the show. I think that movies mean different things to us. You were there. I mean, you've told me you saw the Michael Keaton Batman in theaters.
Oh yeah.
So I never experienced that. I didn't see those movies until, if I'm honest, after the Nolan movies. The same with the Christopher Reeves movies. I saw those after Man of Steel. So it's hard because it's like I feel like I've seen these movies, and I go back and watch those, and I'm not downplaying those at all.
Yeah, but
mad respect to those movies.
Because you saw them first.
Yes.
Those are your Batman and Superman
Exactly.
movies. All right. Seriously, though, this is the question. And listeners, I'm asking for you. Number 1, Dawn of Justice. Why?
I picked it number 1 because we have not seen a movie like this in the DC universe. It is the start of something what that I think is going to be just beautiful to see these Justice League movies. I was first of all very hesitant to even put on the list, and then after I saw it the second time, I had to put it number 1 because what it means. This movie, spoilers if you haven't seen it, see it please because it's such a good movie. You get the Dark Knight Returns Batmans. You get the Superman who is awesome, but at the same time gets his ass kicked by Batman, but at the same time is trying to still fight for the things he holds true. And within all that, you are setting up. You get Wonder Woman, you get Aquaman, you get Cyborg, you get Flash. We are gonna see a Justice League movie. What? And that happened because of this. Like, I'm so hyped because of that.
Excellent points.
Robbie, what is your if you have a top 5? You can narrow it to top 5. I know you're a big comic book fan, a big movie fan.
Yeah, it's kind of a hard top 5,
Yeah.
and I first of all I didn't want to put too many Batman movies on here, but it had to happen, I guess. But I think I came up with a good top 5, and I'll stand by this one for now. I like your thoughts on BVS though. I really do. Number 5, Batman, 1993, Mask of the Phantasm. It's like that's the animated series,
Absolutely.
encapsulated, and it's fantastic. We did a movie night. It's a great film. Number 4, The Dark Knight. Like a lot of people really hype up The Dark Knight. I think I think it's a great film.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is good. Number 3, V for Vendetta, produced by the Wachowskis, but it was directed by the other guy that did that other movie that I didn't like. But anyway, V for Vendetta is really good and the best Alan Moore adaptation, in my opinion. I like Watchmen, but V is better. Number 2, I know you guys aren't going to feel me. Superman Returns.
Hey.
Superman Returns to me is everything I want in a Superman film. I love it. The Christ mythology. That's the most, accurate Christ mythological portrayal of Superman in film is Superman Returns. I love that film. I really do. Kevin Spacey as Luthor. I really like it. Number 1, though, it's Batman Begins. Batman Begins is my absolute favorite DC comic book movie. And it's because, to me, when I first watched that film in 2005, I took the day off of work, and it was like a Wednesday. And I watched it, and I was like, this is the first time I'm actually seeing the comic book Batman that I know on film. It was so realistic, so comic book accurate, and it was so much better than either the Burton or the Schumacher films. It changed my life, and even though its theme is kind of given to you over the bah 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 bah, I really like it, man. The fear thing, I love Batman Begins.
Yeah, you do see the League of Assassins. You're right. It does give you a lot from the comics that you didn't get from the previous films. So that's your number 1, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I noticed you didn't have any other. Dark Knight Rises, was it on your list?
No.
What if you had a top 10? Would it be on your list?
Yes, it would actually. In fact, I almost I put Mask of the Phantasm on there instead of Dark Knight Rises because I was like, I don't want all 3 Nolan Batman films to be on this list. I just wanted some diversity, I guess. But speaking of diversity, I bet you got a very different top 5. What's your top 5, John?
Mine starts off cloning Strickland's list, actually, and then varies. I thought we might have the same list for a second, and then maybe Strickland was my long-lost brother for a second there. So my number 5 is going to be V for Vendetta.
Whoa.
I love it. I think it's phenomenal. I think they did a very good job bringing the comic to the big screen.
I do too.
There's some minor changes, and Alan Moore was not happy with it, but I think he doesn't associate with any of the films.
Alan Moore's not happy with shit.
Yeah,
No,
he's never happy with anything.
He hates everything.
Yeah, he could get
Except
a Big Mac
himself.
from McDonald's that could be identical to the way the Big Mac was, and he's not going to be happy with it. So my number 4 is Watchmen. So there's another one.
Okay.
Love Watchmen. I thought they did a phenomenal job. Yeah, they changed the ending, but again, it was one of those comics that I thought they couldn't do on the big screen. I never expected them to, and Zack Snyder blew me away. And that's the first time I took Zack Snyder seriously. I'm like, this guy is a force to be reckoned with. Because up until that point, I thought he could do remakes or he could do things that were pretty, but he couldn't do anything with substance. And I think he did a phenomenal job with Watchmen. And he proved himself in my book. Not that he had to prove himself to me. I don't think he gives a shit what I think. But if you're listening, I love you, Snyder. Number 3 is the original Superman.
Boom.
Or I should say the 70s Superman with Christopher Reeve. And a lot of it has to do with, I watch it now, and I don't think it's the greatest film of all time, but I do enjoy it. And a lot of it has to do with I grew up with that film. And I grew up with Christopher Reeve.
Christopher Reeve?
It's Babe Ruth. And
I grew up with Christopher Reeve as Superman. So trying to fill those shoes with anybody is a hard sell. And that's why I thought Superman Returns was so good. It's because it felt like a sequel to those. And I loved, even though it doesn't make my top 5, I love Superman Returns as well. My number 2, Batman Returns. What a great sequel. Great Catwoman. Great Penguin. I actually love his Max Schreck. I think he does a phenomenal job. I'm a big Christopher Walken fan.
Oh, yeah.
And I just love the movie. It's a fun film. I love the set pieces. It does feel like everything is a set piece. It feels like everything's done on a soundstage. But Tim Burton had so much control over it that he got exactly what he wanted. It's phenomenal.
What's your number 1?
My number 1 is probably a film that had the biggest impact on me as a child as far as comic book films, and that's going to be 1989 Batman. I'm a big Michael Keaton fan, self-admitted. Love Michael Keaton in everything. So when he was Batman, they announced him as Batman. It blew my mind, and seeing him on the big screen, and that's the first time you see the black costume.
Right.
You see that car in real life. Oh my God!
The only Superman movie on your list is the original. Why is that the best Superman film?
It's just, I don't know, because it has such an impact on me as a child. And I didn't dislike Superman Returns. I didn't dislike Man of Steel. I even like Batman vs Superman. Now, I made this list before Batman vs Superman, so I may revise the list. I'm going to stick to the list, but I may revise the list. I really did enjoy Batman vs Superman, especially if you saw our review. I was blown away by the little bit of time that Wonder Woman got. She was so badass.
Yeah.
And I really like Affleck's Batman. So I may have to revise the list because I think that belongs on the list somewhere in the top 5, but I'm not sure where yet. I need to digest it, see it again.
But why is the Donner Superman film the best Superman film?
Because to me, as a kid, that was Superman.
I think we had a great show, some great top 5s Final thoughts. DC film. Why does it matter, Drew?
Matters because it's the universe that I love, and it's been going on for so long. They've done a lot of different things. They've gone light, dark. They're on the darker side now, but it's going towards the light, all in the same universe. And it's DC means damn cool to me. That's what I love it.
I love it. We should end the show right there. Strickland, top that.
Yeah, how do I top that, man? That's hard. We grew up loving these heroes. You know, they're iconic. We're now in a stage where technology is vast. We're seeing our heroes in ways we've never gotten to see them before, and I'm excited for what's to come. I'm excited at what they're doing, and this is dope stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for listening to Pop Culture Philosophers. I want to thank Jonathan Strickland and Drew Madsen for being here, dashing though he is. Thank you guys, for real. Check out Batman vs. Superman. Make up your own opinion. Next episode, 420. Oh, we're talking about marijuana.
I could be talking about anything. I thought it was just a date.
We're talking about marijuana. That's right. Weed in pop culture. That's right. And we're going to have Jumpin' and Jivin' James with us, and we're also going to have Brooks the Magnificent. Of course, if we're doing a podcast about marijuana, Brooks is on it. But my final thoughts on DC and movies. DC is the original universe in both comic books and films. Their characters are so mythologically based that they resonate within all of us, no matter what. Even Marvel fans. Without DC, superheroes as we know it today, well, that wouldn't exist. DC is that important. And be sure to check out Rockin' Robbie coming up soon. Magical mayhem of music and mustaches. It's going to be a great episode, I promise you. Check us out on YouTube. Please subscribe. Please share this podcast with everybody. And John, I'm going to hand it over to you. Final thoughts, and let's wrap it up.
I just want to thank the people for tuning in, for listening. We love the listeners. We like doing the show. Hopefully you like listening to the show. Again, popculturephilosophers.com. Hopefully you're already there. That's where you listen to us. And if you go see the movie, enjoy the movie Batman vs. Superman or any DC movie, do me a favor. Go to a comic book store. Read a comic. Pick something up. Because there are people that maybe are getting back into these comics.
if you don't like it, read a fucking comic too.
You just have to be DC comic. I'm a big DC fan, but if you enjoy the movie or don't enjoy the movie, go to the comic store and check out the comics. There's something for everyone. There really is. There's more than superheroes. There's everything. So go to a comic store, support your local comic store, support the comic companies, because there's so many great artists and so many great writers out there. I just want to get those people out there and go and check out what they have, man. And go to your local comic store and you know what? Tell them what you're looking for, or tell them what you were interested in. They can direct you to some new interesting stuff.
And if you're in the Huntsville, Alabama, North Alabama area, come check out the Deep Comic Books and Games. Well, we have all of your gaming, comic books, and action figure needs.
And that's been Pop Culture Philosophers. Have a nice night. Drive home safely. if for some reason you're
we blew you away.
Yeah, far away. So, and again, thanks for everybody who participated in the show. Thanks everybody for listening. And again, join us same time, same bat channel, same bat. I screwed up the whole thing. We're out of here, guys. Thank you.